No, this is yours.
Nice. No, that's part of the show. Just think we fall on the stage.
I just asked everyone to catch up.
We're gonna draw the serve. Test, test. How's the sound? Good. Is that good? Good, good. Well, thank you everyone for being here this evening. My name is Brittany Cohill. I'm the Executive Director of Mandarin Museum and Historical Society. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our third Thursday lecture in our Mandarin Neighbors series. And tonight we have Chef Dennis Chan with us of Blue Bamboo Canton Bistro. But before we get to the main event, I would like to take care of a little bit of housekeeping first. First, I would like to thank our wonderful sponsors, Endless Summer Roofing Company, and I give them a big shout out each month, and it's working because several guests have gotten roofs, I think, from Endless Summer Roofing Company. And I will say, Tony and Claudia are my neighbors, my Mandarin neighbors, so I'm a little biased, but they are the nicest, most honest friends and roofers in the business. And there's Claudia right there. So if you're in the market for a new roof, talk to Claudia after the lecture. And then also the Ritter Soares team of One Sotheby International Realty. Katarina Soares is also a wonderful friend and Mandarin neighbor of mine, and they too have generously sponsored this lecture series. And I would like to also thank our board members who are in attendance, Gabrielle Dempsey, Sandy Arpin, Ann Morrow, and who am I missing? Anyone? Lizette Woodward, her husband is on the board, but I think he's at Boy Scouts this evening, so he's got an excuse, good excuse. I would also like to thank our members who are in attendance. And if you are a member of Mandarin Museum, would you please raise your hand? Lovely, wonderful, thank you. Your membership dollars support our programming and operations. So for those of you who did not raise your hand, we do have membership applications in the back, and you can become a member this evening if you'd like. I'd also like to recognize the board members for Mandarin Community Club, who we partner with on this series, and they devote this lovely space to us on Thursday evenings for the lectures. Brett Nolan is on the board of directors, and he's in the back. And who else? Am I missing another board member for Mandarin Community Club?
I don't think so.
No, okay, very good. All right, well, at the end of this program, if you wouldn't mind filling out a survey for us, we have paper surveys in the back, and we also have a QR code that you can scan and fill out a survey. And we use these survey results when we are writing our grants and applying for grant funding. We are a private nonprofit, and so grant dollars are very important to us. So make sure you do a survey at the end if you enjoyed it. If you didn't like the program, just don't worry about it. Before we get started, I have to say, we have refreshments every time we do this that start at 6:30. And it's usually whatever I've picked up BOGO at Publix about an hour before. Spinach dip, pita chips, things of that nature. Well, we couldn't have a lecture with Chef Dennis Chan without food from Blue Bamboo. And so we advertised that in the program on Facebook and by email. And I will tell you, I have never seen people show up so early. Refreshments opened at 6:30, and I think the whole lot of you had already gone through the line by 6:30. But I can't say I blame you, because Chef Dennis is just such a wonderful person, and such a wonderful presence in the Mandarin community. He is the owner and head chef of Blue Bamboo Canton Bistro, who has dined in there before. And in fact, I'm going tomorrow night. It's just such a lovely place. You feel like you're walking into your friend's home for dinner each time you go, at least I do. And the food is delicious, and the wait staff is just so wonderful, warm and friendly. And Dennis is such a wonderful supporter of the community, and he does so much for area nonprofits like the museum and the community club. And so we appreciate your support of Chef Dennis. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Chef Dennis take it away.
Thank you. How's that? Thank you. Is this the louder one? You said one was louder.
That's the louder one. I always take the quiet one because I'm just naturally loud.
Well, you said that about Publix. How do you know these are from Publix?
Is anyone
You could have stopped there.
Is anyone from Publix? We do love Publix. They are wonderful supporters.
Well, that's where we see all of our neighbors.
That's where I see Deborah Harmon at Publix every day. I saw her yesterday. I saw Deborah Harmon yesterday, and that was probably the 5th time. I was leaving Publix today, and pulling out of the parking lot, I see Deborah getting out of her car. And I thought, yeah. So yeah, thank
so
you.
convenient, and those burgers are great. Well, thank you all for coming tonight, first of all, and having me here. As Brittany said, 3 years ago, we were able to build our dream restaurant on San Jose Boulevard. And we wanted to be in this neighborhood because my very first job was in this neighborhood back in the late 80s. And but I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. But I'm going to start with what Mandarin means to me and my first memories of Mandarin. My mother was born and raised here in Jacksonville. First when my grandfather immigrated from China through the U.S. Army, they lived in Springfield and had a restaurant over in La Villa. And that was probably in the early 40s, late 30s, early 40s. And so then, as the migration came out to the suburbs, my grandfather and family moved to the south side. And they lived there for a few years. My mom, in elementary school, made great friends. And her best friend lived, just down the street from her. And then came I-95. And I don't know if any of you remember when I-95 was built. But it created a big highway right in between her and her friend's house. And her good friend from elementary school, her family moved out here to Mandarin. And so my mother always told me when I was young that she would come and visit her friend Chipper, whose family lived on Mandarin Road. And there were all these beautiful oak trees and just a beautiful neighborhood. It was kind of the country back then. But that's where they lived for years. And so in my mind, we always thought of how beautiful Mandarin was and how nice of a neighborhood, quiet. And then, fast forward a few years, my aunt and uncle had, my family had restaurants here in town since the 30s and 40s. And my aunt had a successful restaurant in Arlington, and they decided to follow their restaurant neighbors in Arlington, which was the Tree Steakhouse, to Mandarin Road and San Jose Boulevard. They said, oh, there's still space in that shopping center. And so they built Mandarin Dragon in the late 80s. And, staffing is always a problem in restaurant in restaurants. So I went to work with my aunt and uncle, my first job there, and fell in love with the business. And I kind of felt like I had a legacy to continue then. So my dad and mom tried to do everything they could to keep me away from the restaurant business because it's not an easy business, but I loved it. And so I worked at Mandarin Dragon for the first few years that it was open. Went to college at the University of Florida, came back every weekend to work because I loved it. And so that was my very first job. It's dear to my heart because of that. And at that place, that's where my uncle taught me a lot of what I know and a lot of what I was able to build upon. So then after college, I went to work at Disney, was a VIP tour guide. And, always in the back of my mind, I thought, well, I love this hospitality and I love, that type of business. And how can I learn more? How can I continue this family legacy? So I said, well, if I want to learn more about kitchens, I have to go to the best school that I know, and that's the Culinary Institute of America. So I applied, got in, packed up everything, and this Florida boy moved up to New York to go to school. It's cold up there. So, it's a 18-month program, and I happened to plan my entry date just right so that I could live 2 full winters up in New York. And it made me really appreciate this area that much more. And so graduated from the CIA and then the other CIA. And then went to work for a chef, an up-and-coming chef called Ming Tsai. He had a show on the Food Network. And so when I was in culinary school, what does a culinary school student do but go home and turn on the Food Network, right? So he had his show called East Meets West. And I said, I wonder if you would take an extern, because that was required for our graduation. I called him and he said, can you start tomorrow? And so I said, well, how about I come see you in a couple weeks and then we talk about whether to become the intern. And he did. He was willing to take me on. And I was his very first intern. And he's gone on to, of course, do big things, have multiple shows, won an Emmy Award, opened, I don't even know how many restaurants, had a couple of cookbooks, and he's still, I think you can go to Target and get his frozen Hot Pockets. I think he calls them Maine's Berries. But after that, I went to work for a big Italian restaurant company in Orlando and worked there for 5 years. And my cousin said, why would you want to learn to fly a 747 when all you want to fly is a single engine plane? And that always stuck with me. And but I managed a big Italian restaurant. It was like 350 seats for 5 years. And then it was time to come back and open Blue Bamboo. So we were at our previous location for 16 years, and we've been in our dream restaurant now for 3 years. And the community's been really good to us. They've held events with us, access to cater, cooking classes, and people have come for our cooking classes. And we just try to keep doing events to keep people interested in us. And back in the 80s, when my uncle and aunt were in business here on San Jose Boulevard, there was a Chinese restaurant on every corner. Many of you remember them, and some of you have your favorites, and Some of you visited every one of those. There was enough that, for 2 weeks you could visit a different one every night. And for me too, I enjoyed many of those restaurants. And, it's now the scene on San Jose Boulevard, you can find almost any ethnic food, as you know. You can find Brazilian, Japanese, Thai, Cuban. There's so many different kinds of restaurants up and down San Jose Boulevard, and we're happy to be in that space. There was an attorney's office in the building that we're in before, and we were very grateful that the attorney group was willing to sell to us so that we could build Blue Bamboo. And he's a prominent attorney here in Mandarin, I think. So.
Well, we are happy that he sold to you as well. And you have such a fascinating story. You sent me so many wonderful photographs. And so I'd love to go through some of these old pictures with you. This is the first one that we have. Can you see it?
Yeah, I don't want to lean over too much. This is a picture of my father and his parents, my grandparents on my father's side. He was, he is, one of 7 kids. So he is this one right here, and that was when only 4 of the 7 kids were born. So I have 7 aunts and uncles, so they're all over the world. I have one aunt in Hong Kong, and uncle in San Francisco, one in New York. I have an uncle that lived in Minneapolis for 75 years, and he last year decided, first of all, his accountant retired and in Minneapolis, and he said, "What are you going to do?" And so the accountant said, "I'm going to move to Florida where there's no state income tax." And I suggest you do the same. So he put his house on the market right away and bought a house in E-Town. So he and my aunt live in E-Town now. They're in their late 80s, and they love living there. And they said, "I wish we had done this 15 years ago." I don't know if that's because of the weather or the tax savings. So this is a picture of, that might have been my birthday. I don't know which one, we'll have to count the candles. And that's my family that everyone lived here or still living, some of them are still living here in Jacksonville. And it was fun. Our family always got together for occasions like this. So grew up with a lot of family close, and just here in town.
Which one are you in the picture?
Oh, I'm going to let you all guess.
Who says that?
No, you're the other side. You're that. I think this is
That's me. But my uncle and aunt who started Mandarin Dragon are on that side. Yeah. My aunt Shirley there the other day, she came into the restaurant for lunch, and I said, "Are you ready to work?" So she's not in her mid-90s. So I said, "Come on, you can just put on your." She used to always wear the little gold pendants, the little gold panda coins. I said, "Grab one of those gold panda coins, and we'll have you hostess." That's my grandfather and me and my brother. Brittany was threatening to make you all guess. Yeah, now we have one. It's me and my brother. So So that's a group of all aunts that here in Jacksonville. That is grandmother and aunts. And many of those ladies have restaurants here around town. And you learn a lot from each one of them.
And what, maybe we're going to be in a restaurant. Do you recommend?
Yes, that is Golden Dragon, which is my grandfather's restaurant that was on Beach Boulevard. And that restaurant is now a used car dealership. In fact, that restaurant was right around the corner from our first weekend location. That's my grandmother in her kitchen at home, and that's one of my first memories of her.
What would you say, maybe, do you have any favorite recipes that she cooked or that you learned from her?
So many. One thing I remember learning from her and my grandfather was chicken and broccoli stir fry, and that's still on our menu today. That's a comfort food items. It's made the same way, but we don't cook the broccoli as well as they used to cook it. That's Golden Dragon, the one that's a used car lot now. If you look at the place on Beach Boulevard, it's kind of close to maybe like a block away from that orange dinosaur Rex. So yeah, you'll see it. They took the little curly cues off the corner, but everything else looks like that building. Looks the same. It's a short building, but that signage on top is. That's me, my dad, my mom, my brother, and we were in Silver Dragon over in Arlington before they made the move over to.
Who owned Silver Dragon?
Silver Dragon was my uncle and aunt.
Oh.
Yes. That is my favorite picture. It was a lunch we had, a late lunch we had at Mandarin Dragon, right at the end of this road at San Jose Boulevard. That was the first restaurant that I was able to watch being built, actually work in it, and have my hands in helping with the building and decor and all that stuff. So it was neat. Now that space, if you're kind of new to the area, that space is now Fuji, the all-you-can-eat buffet, and it's still, that place is busy. I've been a couple of times.
My adult children and their friends go there. The all-you-can-eat.
Yes.
I don't know how they say this is for my oldest.
It's busy, and Tina, our general manager at Boo also, we've been there a couple of times, just, when we feel like it's a bad day, the only thing that can make us feel good is all you can eat sushi. And, so we're guilty of going there too, but the neat thing about, and the Chinese people believe in feng shui, which is the way something's shaped or the way it relates to its environment. And my aunt, Mandarin Dragon was super busy. They were busy at Silver Dragon in Arlington, and they made this move, and they were at least twice, maybe 3 times as busy here as they were in Arlington. And some feng shui practitioner said to my aunt that the reason that you're so successful there is that in the front of the building there's a big circle, and it's like all the good luck comes through that circle to that restaurant. So it still works for Fuji 3.
I wonder if we can add a big circle to the museum.
Yes, right on top. The heavens come and shine down
We'll make it
on the
orange.
museum. Yeah.
So
I need one at Blue Bamboo
have
too.
you incorporated any of those feng shui?
I have. Just it's all about balance and how it fits in with everything. And we wanted a big window in the front of our building. Tom Randy is our designer of our restaurant. Some of you know. And he does a lot of work in the media. But, I told him, the two of us knew what we wanted. It just took convincing for the architect and the builder to do what we wanted. In the end, it turned out exactly how we wanted.
Yeah, I love that window on the front. Very nice.
It's fun that maybe I should open it up to people too. I love having my morning bagel out there with coffee, just watching the traffic go by.
Maybe you need a breakfast service.
Yeah, come on, maybe I can. So that's me when I worked at Disney. I was a VIP tour guide. After college, I had to work somehow. So I went to be a VIP tour guide at Disney. Met a lot of neat VIP guests. Mariah Carey was my guest. Martha Stewart was my guest. Tyra Banks was my guest. And so every time they came and needed a tour guide to take them around the parks, that was my choice. So, it was neat. It was a neat time. And, Tyra Banks was fun because she brought two of her friends, and it was like just going around the park with her friends and going through the attractions. And Mariah, so she would fly in. I would go get her at the airport, drive her to. She only wanted to do 2 attractions. She wanted to do Splash Mountain and the TOT, as she called it, which was the Tower of Terror. And, so the funny story about Mariah is that one of the times when she came, she knew those were the 2 attractions she wanted to do. So she first went to the TOT, rode it maybe 3 or 4 times, and then on the way out, one of her assistants bought a bathrobe so that when we went to Splash Mountain, she could cover up in a bathrobe when we went down the chute. And those Disney souvenirs are not inexpensive, but I think that was like $100 bathrobe just so that she could ride on Splash Mountain. But then we would take her back and back to the airport, and she would fly and go clubbing or something. Good times.
So that was just college or during college?
Yeah, that was right after college. Right after college, I worked for Disney for 5 years. Neat place to learn about hospitality, customer service. And, back then, no one did customer service as well as Disney. And it was casual customer service. It wasn't like formal stuff. It was just making people feel good value, and that's what that's still my philosophy today on how to take care of guests. So this was really neat. About 3 years ago, a customer came in and presented me with this menu. She had in her home put a Silver Dragon menu away. And it was like up in a closet or something, and when she was cleaning it out, she says, "Oh, I want to bring you this." So she brought me a copy of the menu of the $4.95 dinners that I had. That's what shows up first.
Have you thought about having like a special event at the restaurant where you do like Silver Dragon prices?
A retro? Yeah, we could. I have to look at that menu again, but yeah. You would get a much smaller portion. The pricing might be the same with the portion. So that's our old location. We were there for 16 years on Southside Boulevard. It was the Dragon before us. So my cousin opened the Dragon, And then another family ran it for about 10 years, and then I bought it, and I made it Blue Bamboo. But that's why on our menu, we have our signature appetizer is dragon whiskers, which are fried zucchini straws.
They're delicious.
And, thank you. And that appetizer was named in honor of the building that we were in because it was the dragon for so many years.
At that time,
Yeah.
were you expecting the hordes of people for dim sum Sundays?
Oh yes, that even in our old location. So one day a month, one Sunday a month, we serve dim sum, and it's a special event. And it takes weeks for us to prepare to make the dumplings, just to prepare. And we switch our kitchen over completely in order to serve that. And dim sum is just Asian tapas. So there's steamed items, fried items, wok tossed items. And so we started it then. We started in 2010. And we've done, every month, once a month, and since then. And so we still do that here too. They're a little busier now than they were at Southside. But yeah, at Southside, we would open at 11, and there would always be a line at 11. And we only started doing it because, over the years, all these family restaurants. Every time a dim sum restaurant would open in Jacksonville, in a year it would be gone because there just wasn't the interest for it. And so I said, well, why don't we just do it once a month? And not realizing it was a lot more work than I thought. But we stuck with it, and so now we still do once a month. We do dim sum.
Well, and I didn't know about that until a friend of mine from Atlantic Beach said, hey, I'm gonna come visit Mandarin Museum on a Sunday, which I was like, oh, we're not open. She was like, because I'm going to this place, they do dim sum on Sunday. It's this new restaurant. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I found out it was you.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have people that come from all over the city.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
We have one couple that comes from Brunswick every Thursday.
well, I'm gonna have to come. When is the next one?
This weekend.
Oh,
The
it
19th.
I won't be able to, but I'll be there.
We'll do it again next time.
So what made you move from this location to the crib?
Well, it's part of, it's always been in the back of my mind that, I love this neighborhood. And, I have great memories of the restaurants in this neighborhood. And a lot of our clientele that would drive all the way over to Southside Boulevard lived in this neighborhood. And these are customers that have dined with us for generations. So the mothers, the grandmothers of our customers had always dined with my family. And so, I already loved the neighborhood and wanted a location. And I had an ideal location picked out, which is less than half a mile from and I told the real estate agent, this is where I want to be. And so she found us what we have now. And she said, it's going to take a lot of imagination, but I think you can do what you want at this location. And then about maybe a year before we found this location, my aunt, my aunt and uncle were my landlord. They started the old place where we were before. And so they always just collected rent every month for the people that were before us and then for us. And they were really good to me because they didn't raise the rent the whole 16 years. Now, that's not saying that the rent was cheap. The rent was really expensive in the beginning, but it ended up because they never raised the rent. It was very, very fair for us. But my aunt, my month to collect the rent in person. And, hands out, we knew. And so one day, my aunt said, and she just started to show signs of a little bit of memory loss. And she said, if I were you, you're young still, I would go find a piece of land in Mandarin, buy it, and build a restaurant. And my uncle said, oh, it's time to go. So that always stuck in my mind that, okay, there's the permission. I can go do this without feeling bad about leaving. And so that's what I did. And, with their full blessing, we built this restaurant. Kind of.
And so this is the interior of which restaurant?
Oh yeah, this is the interior of the Dragon, which was where Blue Bamboo was for 16 years. But then we gutted and rebuilt the interior of that restaurant. But it looks just like Mandarin Dragon because it was built, it was built the year after Mandarin Dragon. So a lot of the same elements of that space were. That's me when I worked at Blue Ginger in Boston. Another picture of me and two of the line cooks at Blue Ginger. That is me and the Lee brothers. The Lee brothers have cookbooks. They're called, they're known for Southern cookbooks. They're out of Charleston. One lives in New York, one lives in Charleston. They hold something called Cookbook Camp, where people who want to write a cookbook go, and they help you find your voice, and they just help you through the process of writing a cookbook. So, we've written two. Yes, we've written two.
We need to carry them in our shop.
We would be honored to carry them in the shop. And we're working on it. But and that is one of my favorite interns. She lives here in the community. That's Mandarin Neighbors, and she went through the FSCJ culinary program. She's a big fundraiser, and she has a lot of causes that she works really hard for. So she had a chance to go to culinary school. She went through the program and asked me if I would take her on as an intern. She did an intern. Part of the program, you have to do 2 internships. And the first one she did at another restaurant in town, which is well known. It's one of my favorite restaurants in town, but it's not here anymore. And when she interviewed with the chef there, he says, you're my mom's friend. Why do you want to work here? Why do you want to do an internship here? And it was hard to keep up with in that kitchen. So when she came to us and asked me to do an internship, I said, well, yes, this is what the assignments are. Every day you come in, you find something you want to learn, and you do the research, and I'll make sure you have all the ingredients, and you make those items and find the best recipe and do the best that you can with those things. That's how I learned when I worked at Blue Ginger. Aside from the time I had to be on the line working, he also gave me assignments to cook staff meals every day. And so I really thought that that's the best way to do internships, and so that I offered that to Mary too, and she ran with it. She did such beautiful work, and at the end of her internship, I had an album made for her that had all the things she had cooked that semester, and it's just, I hope she looks back at it and sees, but she's got a great little recipe book of things. She made the best black and white cookies I've ever had, and just a few months ago, I asked her for that recipe, and she had it, so very one of the things. I said, I wonder if there's not another place in town that makes black and white cookies.
I think you sent those to my table.
Oh, have you had them before? Yes. They were so
I didn't know
good.
they were very exactly.
Yeah, that's her recipe. So yeah, maybe we'll make more black and white cookies. You all know that couple, right, in the middle? That's Enza and Mike, and that was my uncle and aunt a couple of years ago. They went to visit, and they snapped that picture. It's a great picture of restaurateurs here. We have a lot of great restaurateurs. Enza, her father and her family, they fed Mandarin Italian food for decades. And now Julio is a Joel Dupree's. Yeah, her family. And then Rosalia is over in Avon. So yeah, their family's still feeding us. That's me and Enza at Caring Chefs over at when it was held at They're really, before I proceeded with the purchase of land where we are now, I went and visited with the ones I like, and I said, I'm thinking of doing this, and I said, ideally, we'll find a big piece of land somewhere and just build 2 restaurants and be right next to each other, because that would be such a draw, right? And, there's not that much land that Mandarin. We could have done. If we put all of our resources together, we might have been able to do Kmart. But anyway, we're a couple of blocks away from each other now, and I like that. We love being their neighbor.
They're wonderful, and we've known Mike and Enza for years and years. My youngest child, who's 11, we went in there, and Josephine and Stephanie, their daughters, Brendan was, I don't know, maybe 6 months old. They were like, give me that baby, and then just, so we got baby's first spaghetti, from the sisters and Enza's, and so we have that picture of him, and then we just took a picture of him with Enza maybe a month ago, and now he's taller than Enza, which isn't hard to do, because she's 15, but very sweet couple.
That's our Kansas lobster. So the story of Kansas lobster. So now, of course, we offer that as a special because call ahead item. So if you call me a day ahead, I can usually get a lobster to do Kansas lobster. But my uncle, when we were at Mandarin Dragon, he used to send me out. He would say, go buy a lobster. And that's when Publix still had tanks. So I would run over to Publix, get a lobster, and bring it back. Just, one of those great memories where, like, my first lobster I ever bought was, and it became such a thing. But we have people now that still ask us for Kansas lobster, and luckily, my uncle taught me how to do that many years ago. So now we run a fisherman's dock instead of Publix. They never have a logo.
Well, I think now what we'll do is open it up for questions for Dennis. I know we'll have some for sure. Sandy.
Would you tell everybody about the story about the margin?
Oh yes, a couple of years ago, General Mills has this contest every year, or they try to do different contests every year. And back then it was the Neighborhood to Nation recipe contest. they wanted people to use General Mills products and send in a recipe that represented your neighborhood, that could go nationwide. And so I submitted our Mandarin orange cake, and if we go back a few years, a friend of mine in Orlando invited me to a steakhouse down there on my birthday, and they had ordered this whole cake, and it was a Mandarin orange cake. I said, this cake is absolutely delicious, the best cake I've ever had. So then her birthday was a month after mine, and I had to try all these recipes to try to duplicate that cake, because I thought that would be the one thing I could do for my friend to, and so I was able to recreate the cake, and then when we opened the restaurant, I said, this has to be our signature cake. So submitted the recipe to General Mills, and they chose us as the grand prize winner for the whole nation. So it was we made the cupcake versions of it. Some of you had those earlier today.
Is there one? There's one left? Truly, is there one?
No more. Now
There's
it's gone.
one
One left. It's gone already. So that was a huge prize package. They brought me and my wife Elizabeth up to New York to the Food and Wine Festival, the New York Food and Wine Festival. They gave us a page ad in the Times Union. They gave us a billboard for 2 months, and it was like a $100,000 prize package. So it was just nice to to have something like that. But what I really wanted from it is I wanted, like, every city has something that they're known for. Kansas City barbecue, I don't know, what else? Louisiana, muffalades, the Philly cheesesteak. Yes, you get the picture. So I thought, well, why can't Jacksonville be known for Mandarin orange cakes? At least Mandarin should be known for Mandarin orange cakes.
I agree.
Yeah. So one of our good customers texted me a picture the other day, and she said, Stonewood's trying to copy your cake. And I guess they have a Mandarin orange cake at Stonewood. I said, I can't wait to try it. But really, I'd love for every restaurant in Mandarin to have a Mandarin orange cake, and that be a thing for when people come to visit us in this area, to be able to try all the different
Well,
orange
then we'd have to call yours the original.
Well, we're the national prize winning. Visit Jacksonville has a donut and coffee trail. We should have a Mandarin orange trail, too. Mandarin orange cake trail.
I saw some other things, yes.
So, first of all, the attorney that you bought the building from was our brother.
All right.
But secondly, you mentioned that you do cooking classes, and you also now do dim sum.
Yes.
Do you teach cooking classes on dim sum?
We do. At least once a year, we make one of the classes a dim sum class. So we'll either call it a dumplings and buns class, or it'll be that variation of that. But it is dim sum.
Is it on your website?
Yes, we always keep our cooking classes updated on our website. Thanks to your brother.
So I'm curious, what inspired your name for the restaurant?
Blue Bamboo, good question. So you know that my mentor, Ming Tsai, had Blue Ginger in Boston. So when I was thinking of opening a restaurant, I asked him, and again, he believes so much in feng shui. So I asked him, I said, what do I call my restaurant? And he said, whatever you call it, it has to have the word blue in it. And I said, why is that? And he said, blue is the color of business success. And so I said, how about Blue Bamboo? And so he messaged back, like it. So that's like, to me, that was like the Godfather saying, do it. So that's why we call our restaurant Blue Mandarin.
Yes.
Do you have a problem getting supplies here in Jacksonville? Because our farmers market is, I don't think it's really that good. And I know some restaurants put their air bill on where they get their fish, where they get their lobsters, whatever. What is your process? I mean, not the whole process, but...
Yeah, no, we have no trouble getting fresh vegetables. Well, let's start with vegetables first. Fresh vegetables. A lot of what we serve in our restaurant is grown at, so over on Old St. Augustine Road and Harley Road, there's an Asian grocery store called Jack's Oriental. They are the best stocked grocery store for Asian ingredients in all of Jacksonville. And I know that the media has talked about all the new bigger places, but Jack's Oriental has it down pat. So not only do they have a steady supply of all their vegetables, but they grow these vegetables at their farm in Elkton. So Napa is grown there in Elkton. Shanghai bok choy is grown there in Elkton. Kabocha squash. Like you could walk into that store and see, and I just went in there this afternoon and they have bags that are pre-portioned of veggies that are grown from their farm, and they're, like $1.99 a bag. And it's just, that's how we go in to get inspiration for specials sometimes. But they have, I think their Napa this week is, I don't know, I just saw a whole display of Napa cabbage, and it's the season for it, so they have a surplus right now. But so locally grown, and it's a local business, and so we're very thankful for them for that. Seafood, whenever we run specials, it's always to fisherman's dock, and they're I think everyone in the neighborhood knows them, and that's their seafood. We used to buy from them when they still did wholesale out of this Mandarin location. That family has been selling to my family well, the current family they've owned it for like the last 3 or 4 years or so, but previous to that, the Williams family. And so now, the family that owns it now, their son owns Country Harvest, which is a dessert bakery that serves restaurants and food service. So they make a couple of our desserts. We try to support them too. Their factory is in what used to be Sorrento, toward town. Yes, it is. Miss John. Yes, Miss John. Yes. So before I was married, Miss Jody owns some swimming safari, by the way, and both my boys have gone to swim there for over 6 years now. And before before I got married, and I just had that little restaurant that's outside Boulevard, I would go, because I was off on Sundays, I would go and find what places I could visit for a day. And I could fly out on Sunday morning and fly back on Sunday night and just spend a day somewhere. So it was my away for the day. And I used to do that, and then when I came back, I was able to recreate whatever food I ate in those places. So the ones that come to mind, I remember going to Texas and bringing some of that food back. Wisconsin, which is, that's a lot of cheese. Chicago, the bigger cities too, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, we have that great of an airport that you can fly out in the morning and fly back at night. So I really love it. I miss those days. I don't think the flights are like that now.
Definitely not for a family before.
Yes.
Any other questions?
So I have to give a shout out, for Jacksonville, because if you can't figure out what it says on the label, ask Angel, she's fabulous. Right? And because they have all sorts of condiments, seaweed, tofu, and fresh vegetables and such. It's probably one of the places you can get watercress.
Yes.
And it's not very huge, because mine is super anymore, but Blue Pluto is the other place that you can get, sort of, gives you some condiments and things like that. They're all wholesale.
So Jack's Orientals, and at least 6 of our 12 cooking classes every year we do as a field trip, where we meet at the Asian market, meet at Jack's Oriental, we'll shop for our ingredients, and then we'll go back to Blue Neighbors and cook. So, yeah, so those are always fun classes too. And like you said, Angel there is always very helpful. Her whole staff is very helpful. And the neat thing about Jack's Oriental is they started out just one little bay in that full shopping center. And now they have the whole half, the whole road is there. They should have bought it 2 years ago. And they also have an interest in some of the restaurants on the other side.
Very good. Thank you so much, Shay. It was so wonderful to hear your story and some of these little tidbits that, you don't, you have favorite chefs, but you don't get to hear a lot about their history and things unrelated to where you came from. Anyway, so this was a real treat for us, as was the delicious food and thank you so much. And everyone, if you haven't been, go to Blue Neighbors here sometimes.
Oh, and I have good news to share. I told you right before we started, but as I was coming in to set up for today, I had launched a YouTube channel 3 weeks ago, and we had our first viral video today.
And also, before you go, we should mention that the museum has started an annual fundraising dinner. We got it last year in September, and we'll have it in September this year. And it will be at Blue Neighbors, and we're taking over the whole restaurant. And so if you don't get our emails yet, make sure your email address is on the list back there. So
I think we need to tell them about what we did last year. Last year was the first event that we did as a fundraiser. And what we did was we took, before Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote the book that she's best known for, she wrote a cookbook. And so I was able to find a copy of that cookbook online. And I took some of those recipes and recreated them in today's form. Because I think the tagline is Mandarin's most famous resident. Is that what you
I think
said?
so, yes, yes.
So we recreated her recipes in a big dinner. And I don't know if
With
we're
wine
going-
pairings.
Yeah, with wine pairings. And I don't know if we're going to do that again this year, but we can find other recipes
Yeah.
that she
Well, I
did.
know you had said one of the recipes called for frizzled chicken.
Yes.
You know, trying to decipher
Yes.
some of this mid-19th century terminology, I think.
But it was fun to recreate these things, these dishes.